So one of the things I would say, for me, it's always weird to describe something someone did to them. It's
Hmm.
like because it's like you're giving them like the quote people put on the book covers by other
Right.
writers.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, it's a thrilling masterpiece, blah blah blah, right?
Right.
So, but for me, one of the things that I noticed because it was easy to relate to what you wrote because
Right.
I knew I truly believe that like 21-year-old me is still in me, just many many layers down.
Right.
So when you read something, it's like you're for me absorbing someone else's creative work is like allowing all past me's to come and watch a movie with me. Like we're all
Right.
sitting down in a theater and we're all watching it together.
Yeah.
It's the only time I get to spend with 20-year-old me.
Right.
So for me, when I was reading your story, it was very one thing that jumps out very
Hmm.
quickly because you literally talk about it. It is that resistance to become to just become like everyone else.
Yeah.
And I would imagine that when we do something creative, it is our way of like putting something and being like, wait, 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 look, I'm not like all of you because
Hmm.
I can prove it.
Yeah.
That idea of because there's so many people who almost do something,
Yes.
but then the only difference between some like a storyteller and a normal person
Hmm.
is that person decides to tell the story rather than
Yes.
believing they have a story to tell.
Right.
So for you, now that that girl is in the past, that girl who wrote that book, and now you're in this phase. How do you feel about your personal journey as a storyteller, as a creative person? What are you trying to say now? I mean, does that make sense? I put like
Somewhat,
three
I think.
questions in there. Yeah. I
Yeah.
put three statements and like two questions. Yes.
Mm. um, I think in many ways, still trying to say the same things, but kind of adding on to it as I go along. One is this pressing need for self-awareness at every point, and I find that is now more relevant than it ever was because, like I said, being at a you know, for all practical purposes, being at a very normal job, you there are many many opportunities in which you might lose that level
Right.
of
Right.
self-awareness. You kind of you're not able to as easily look at yourself from the outside and see what other people are saying and be able to critique yourself
Yeah.
from that perspective. And it was a lot easier to do that in art school because a lot of the people around you have that same level of self-awareness, will call you out on the same things that
Yeah.
uh, and you can kind of it's a lot easier to develop that self-awareness when you're in an environment like that. And it is something that requires a certain amount of stamina, and anything that requires stamina, you can kind of lose it or get worse
Sure.
at it
Yeah.
as time goes along and depending on the environment you're in. So I feel with everything, with when you start expressing yourself through artwork, through writing, through any sort of creative process, that's one thing you kind of can hone. A skill that you can hone is that self-awareness, and I was
Right.
trying to do that with the breadcrumb, and I think I am still trying to do that, even if I'm working on the dollhouse project, where I'm kind of
Yes. Right.
literally kind of looking at myself from the outside, or trying to create this parallel dimension in which I can exist, and
Yeah.
I can watch myself almost. And while the form keeps changing, whether it's a book or miniatures or whatever it is, I think it's all trying to kind of push the same basic things. Is that one is it is trying is a way to develop self-awareness, and it all of my work and writing and artwork is always a form of therapy for myself, a way to kind of preserve myself so that I don't feel like I'm losing myself over time, to create
Right.
these sort of markers, to create a very tangible timeline of my
Right.
uh, existence. And it's it seems, I mean, it might I'm sure it seems quite self-obsessive if you really kind of look at it, because all of my goals when it comes to these different forms of work is to do mostly to do with myself, whether it's
Sure.
to build
Yeah.
my own self-awareness, whether it's to, be a form of therapy for myself. And but like I said, a lot of my work, the primary audience is really myself.
Right. Right.
It's really a way to kind of reconcile with myself. And you know, I think I have this problem of constantly trying to be many, many different things at once.
Yeah.
And that comes with a whole bunch of other complications, because I can never really settle
Sure.
on one thing to be. When you're asking me, about a job, I think in the book I mentioned that I'm not non-human, I'm part human.
Right. Yeah.
Uh, and I think the fact that I have this job is the biggest testament to that, is that there is a part of me that wants a job like this. And
Sure.
that a part of me that enjoys a job like this, a part of me that enjoys being around other humans, being validated by them. And so I can't really be on any one side of things for too long. I have to kind of have my,
Right.
foot on either side of every line. And the I always find it very difficult to explain those kinds of things to other people. Is that I can't even answer a simple question as to, what do you do when somebody asks me?
Right.
And I can never answer that question, because there's something in me that's bubbling up and wanting to say, okay, I do artwork, but I also like design stuff, and I work as an interaction designer
Yeah.
at a company, and I also do some writing on the side, and it's like creative writing sometimes, but I also like to do,
Right.
full on academic writing. I can't explain all of these things to people. One,
Sure.
because they really don't care. They
Yep.
don't care to know all of those details. They probably care for one of those answers, depending on where
Yeah.
they're from. Um, and two, because they're not going to retain it anyway. So, I find that I want to create more and more of this type of work across different forms, so
Right.
that somebody kind of coming across my work will have a way to access all of the different things that I am and want to be. And I don't, like you said, you don't feel like you need to explain yourself once you've done
Right.
something tangible about it. And once you've put it down in some tangible format, you don't feel that pressing need to explain yourself. And like you said, there's a difference between somebody who thought about doing something and somebody who actually did something. And
Right.
I think that is the constant sort of tension, is trying to be that person who does something rather than somebody who just said, okay, I do this, 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 but there's no real tangible proof for it.
Right.
So I think at every step along the way, you're trying to just create tangible proof for all of these labels that you,
Yeah.
apply to yourself. So, yeah.